Hello, everyone. It's Andrea Chalupa from Gaslit Nation. Hope you are having an incredible Independence Day and thinking about your independence from these Trump fascists come November 5th, 2024, because you're going to be joining us at the Gaslit Nation phone banks all summer long and all fall long. We are going to be making phone calls the third Thursday of every month through Election Day, and you can join us and our friends at Indivisible for a phone bank party on July 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to be calling our fellow citizens in so-called red states, which we call Republican hostage states, refusing to leave them behind and reminding them that we are planting seeds of change, seeds of hope together, one phone bank at a time. Our last phone bank made nearly 15,000 phone calls to key Senate races in Ohio and Montana, and we had a lot of incredible connections, discussions with a lot of folks who are furious about what is going on in this country. You are not alone in feeling angry and scared. We outnumber them, so we are ultimately going to get through this. It's about owning our power, reminding ourselves of our power, and building the government that we want, because government works for us when we work to demand the government we deserve. We deserve better than what we have now. There are so many incredible victories that are happening in states where Democrats are building their power. Advancements in green energy, green investments, obviously Biden with his historic infrastructure deal. If you look at what the Democrats are doing with their power in Michigan and protecting all sorts of rights there. And if you want to have good news all the time about the progress and why government matters, why our votes matter, then I strongly urge you to subscribe to the Substack newsletter, Chop Wood, Carry Water, by the great Jessica Craven, who provides a roundup of all the important news about American democracy and ways we can fight back. And she shares how government is working to remind us all that our votes matter, because the nihilism, the despair, that's election suppression. That is trying to demoralize you from voting, which is your sacred right. Sacred right. If you want to know where my enthusiasm for phone banks and voting comes from, my family escaped dictatorship. They understood the reality of dictatorship. The trauma of dictatorship is in my DNA. So America, with all of its problems, feels like paradise to me and my family. That is why I work so hard to protect the freedoms that we have, and I take absolutely nothing for granted, because I know on a deep soul level, on an ancestral level, how dark, how sadistic our reality could be if we take what we have for granted and allow it to slip away. Our votes matter. Our voices matter. The work we do together matters. Demanding a better government for ourselves and our children matters. Do not give in to the sick temptation of despair and nihilism. Nihilism is part of the enemy's plan, the Steve Bannon's plan to flood the zone with shit and to demoralize us. Don't give in to the both sideserism. Both parties are not the same. And you see that where state power is being built, where Democrats are taking control. And ask a woman who's bleeding out because she can no longer get an abortion to end the pain, to stop the pain, to save her life. Ask her whether voting matters. Ask her if both parties are the same. Ask her if Biden and Trump are the same. They are not. And so there are a lot of people out there that are fighting to transform this country, and they are on the right sides of history. So I hope you'll join us there. And now this is a continuation of my discussion with Leah, Hunt-Hendrix, and Astra, the authors of Solidarity, the Past, Present, and Future of a World-Changing Idea. Leah Hunt-Hendrix was born and raised in New York City. She has a PhD in religion, ethics, and politics from Princeton University, where she wrote her dissertation on the ethics of solidarity. Leah has founded multiple organizations that have impacted the American political landscape. In 2012, she co-founded Solidaire, a national network of philanthropists dedicated to funding progressive movements. And in 2017, she co-founded Way to Win, a network with a similar structure, this time dedicated to electoral strategy. Both organizations are grounded in building solidarity between major donors and grassroots organizing. Astra is co-founder of the Debt Collective, a union of debtors. She is the director of numerous documentaries and the author of The Age of Insecurity, Coming Together as Things Fall Apart. Democracy May Not Exist, but We'll Miss It When It's Gone, and The People's Platform, winner of an American Book Award, among other works. Her writing has appeared in periodicals, including The New Yorker, The New York Times, N+1, and The Baffler. She is an advisor to Lux Magazine and is on the editorial board of Hammer and Hope. She was a 2023 CBC Massey Lecturer. This is a continuation of our discussion, including on understanding how to protect movements and the integrity of movements from bad actors, including actors who want to weaponize movements and divide and conquer us and drive us apart in the all-important organizing work we needed to do to overcome their corruption and fascist threats. And if you want to hear the full thing, make sure that you're subscribed at the Truth Teller level tier or higher on patreon.com/gaslit. That's patreon.com/gaslit. And thank you to everyone who supports the show. We could not make Gaslit Nation without you. Republicans are excellent at falling in line and unifying no matter what. Even if you humiliate Ted Cruz and his wife in front of the whole world, they will still be obedient to the party, to their far-right fascist movement. Democrats, on the other hand, you have Bernie and Elizabeth Warren supporters cannibalizing each other over like the smallest percentage of differences, let's say over like Medicare for all. Where does that come from? And how do we resolve it for the sake of the world?
I think that this is part of the reason we wrote this book, is because solidarity is like hope. These things are kind of virtues, they're practices, they're disciplines. And we have not prioritized solidarity as a discipline for a really long time. I think our culture is so based on freedom as sort of its pinnacle ideal, freedom, individualism, uniqueness, being a social media celebrity or being an entrepreneur and kind of forging out alone. And we just haven't prioritized coming together and sticking together as a core element of our collective strategy. And so I think that you're right that Republicans can do that more. It's also easier when you have a smaller coalition and when you're willing to draw really hard lines around who is in and who is out. And it's easier to build kind of what we call reactionary solidarity, which is based on the sense of who we are against these others, these outsiders that are different from us. So the Left Project is much, much harder. The project of transformative solidarity that's trying to be much more inclusive. It still creates lines around who's in and who's out, but those lines are malleable. People are welcome to come back in if they share values of inclusivity and justice and equality. It's a harder project, but I think it's doable if we cultivate this as a discipline. So that's the big task ahead.
I do think that this point that the Republican project is easier is key. I mean, when your goal is to shrink the state, then you don't have to do the work of demonstrating the fact that the state can actually improve people's lives. Every time it fails, you just point to it and go, you see, don't trust the government. And then it creates a feedback loop that works in your favor. And I do think it's a harder project to be like, how do you create a multiracial, inclusive democracy and build what Leah and I call in our book a solidarity state, a functional state that provides for its citizens in a way that earns and builds social trust between diverse people. So that's hard. And that's fundamentally opposed to the project of imposing minority rule, which is what conservatives are after. I mean, and they have a lot of advantages. As much as they rail against affirmative action, I mean, the Republicans have political affirmative action in this country. They have an electoral college tilted in their favor. They have a really imbalanced Senate where, rural conservative communities are disproportionately represented. They have captured 6 seats on the Supreme Court. I mean, they have a lot of advantages. And it can be really frustrating, but I think, again, our message is that just makes the project of building solidarity all the more urgent.